got a horrific cough now with the shouting that's been going on in this house, I can assure you. We made it, guys, by the skin of our teeth. And what a nervy last half an hour. I'm sure it was squeaky bum time for all of you. Joining me today, Freddie, Stu, Jarvis is making his debut as well. Great to have you with us, buddy. I hope you're well, and I hope it's nice not to be in the comments and with us for a change. So good to have you. Right, guys, get your comments in, get liking, get subscribing. We're going to another final at Wembley, and obviously take us back a year. Never in a blue moon did we think, I probably shouldn't use that term, but never did we feel that we were going to be anywhere near. And obviously we played a very, very good team today. I was saying in the background, you know, we expected them to press high. We expected them to have a lot of the possession. And I think defensively we were very good today. Questionable going forward. Didn't have a lot of imagination, as Stu was saying. Anyway, Freddie, thanks for joining me, buddy. How are you feeling after that? We're going to Wembley against our noisy neighbours.
Very happy. I mean, I think, like you said, after last season, if anyone was to suggest that we were going to win a cup, get to the FA Cup final, be as secure as we are in the top four right now, I would have bitten your hand off at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, it's another big step forward and another tick on Ten Hag's sort of merits for this season. And you've got to look at it in that picture, regardless of performances, regardless of anything else. Just look how far we've come from last season. I think most people actually wrote us off before the game even started. I think everyone had Brighton, which was astounding, really, given that this is their first Wembley trip in a very long time, and I think only third in their history. And I think it showed in the sort of dying end of the game. They obviously couldn't get over that extra line, and I think our experience just tipped us over. The defence was brilliant. Again, the build-up was built around, or the narrative was how poor our defence is going to be or is. I think it was actually our strongest part of our game today. Kudos to Victor Lindelof. I think he had a fantastic game. Wan-Bissaka, Dallo as well. Absolutely superb. And even Luke Shaw. I mean, there he is. I don't know. That's the Carabao, so hopefully he's got an FA Cup lanyard in a few weeks too. I mean, Luke Shaw as well. I don't know. Have we conceded a goal with Luke Shaw at centre back? It'd be good to see that stat.
I'd have to have a look at that, but I think you're probably right. Actually, I know that our defensive display with him being there has been phenomenal. Kind of what we expected today. Obviously, worried about the knock that he may have picked up on Thursday. Wasn't the case, and he did very, very well again today.
Exactly. But look, it's another final, and we've just got to see it as that. There's a lot more positives today. I think the boys really turned up after the disappointment of going out on Thursday. A few question marks still around our attack, but it was much the same for Brighton. I did have a fear admittedly, when we went to penalties, and it was going to just be one mistake. I don't think the keepers have the best record at saving penalties, and thankfully it was Brighton that missed today. So, yeah, look, another brilliant result. However, we're up against arguably the best team in the world in the final. So it's gonna, the boys are gonna have to take it that one step further if we want to, stop effectively City from potentially winning the treble. It's nice to see that that's in our hands now, and we've got hopefully something extra to play for, and an additional trophy. I mean, if we finish the season with 2 trophies in the top 4 finish,
can't
imagine.
Oh, man.
Can't even imagine. Yeah,
imagine
without a striker for the majority of the season, in more or less. So yeah, look, fantastic season so far. So long may it continue.
Yeah, long may it continue indeed. Listen, we were written off before the game. Absolutely right. And to be honest with you, I didn't feel confident at all myself. But as we've all said, and you've alluded to as well, Freddie, we played a good game, I felt. And ultimately the best team went through. And that's how you have to look at it. Jarvis, thank you very much for joining us, buddy. I hope you're very well. I hope you're as elated as we are. I'm sure you absolutely are. How are you, and how are you feeling after that, buddy?
Yeah, I'm excited. Winning against Brighton. I To be honest, I didn't think we were going to win this game because Brighton has been amazing the last the whole season. To be fair, and the Serbi ball is a beautiful kind of football. He plays in a very peculiar way with possession based counter attacking football. So, but Ten Hag, he did something special today. He he sat back and just let them play the ball in between themselves, the center backs. Sometimes in the first half, Bruno was a little bit impatient, but apart from that, we were really controlling the Brighton attack and their counter-attacking threat, I believe. So kudos to Ten Hag to taking this game seriously and setting up his tactic in the right way, because he never compromises, and we have been losing a couple of games really hard with 6-1 and 7-0. So, but I'm very happy and that we could win this game. Yeah.
Very eloquently put. I'm surprised we haven't got you on sooner, Jarvis. Wonderful. Stu, good to have you with us this week again, my man. I know you got football later. We're going to try and keep this show relatively short. Loads of you in the comments. I just wanted to come to one thing here. It's nice to see that we got time travelers in the comments, and we will have to come back to this after the final. They might beat us, but we could beat them too. So, yeah. Anyway, go on, Stu.
Yeah, look, I'm not as cheerful as the two guys, but I understand why they are cheerful, and I think there is time to sometimes take your footballing hat off and just appreciate what's happened. But both the lads have summed it up really, really eloquently. Brighton do play an ambush style of football, and that's their real key to how they operate. And the best thing about the way that Brighton plays, you don't know who's going to ambush you and where they're going to come from, because as Jarvis said, they just mosey around and don't stand specifically or stay in specific areas. They just come in, and before you know it, bang, they're there. Casado in particular, he's just like a ghost on the pitch. He
very good player, isn't he?
Morphs in and out. 1 minute you see him, the next minute you don't. A fabulous exponent of attacking central defensive midfielder. He's a very, very clever footballer. Is Casado. You got Solly March. He's been around for absolutely years. People think he's a dainty little ballerina type footballer, but he isn't. He's got a brain about him, and he's got a workmanlike team that will just sweep you up like an old road sweeper from the 70s, and they'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing at you. And that's what they did to us. And their disruption they had on our game was phenomenal. And I think that kind of forced us into our tactics in many ways, that we had to kind of sit back a little bit. But there was no real gaps. If you notice, when we are sitting back and trying to take up the pressure, there was no real gaps for us to then exploit, because they were still quite compact. Brighton were, as well as they used the width. Now that sounds absolutely ridiculous. I know, even when I'm saying it, it's ridiculous. But they play, as Freddie alludes to a lot, inverted fullbacks as well as natural fullbacks. So they can do it seamlessly. They can do it by spinning, and they're back into their natural position. So I've got to be honest, fellas. I'm trudging off that pitch. I'm not fucking happy at all. I ain't celebrating a penalty shootout. I'm not getting involved with that bollocks. I'm not happy. I'm walking off, and we've got to have it. You have to have a conversation and say something's got to turn. This tide has to turn today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. And I know people are looking at me and thinking, "Fucking hell, Stu, come on, get a life, mate.
Get a grip, Stu.
Yeah, get a grip." But the problem at this level of football, and at any level of football, you've got to park it, and it's the next game after that and the next game after that that's actually going to define our season. We've got two very, very difficult games now moving forward, before we even look, even to start to think about the cup final. So, look, I said at the beginning of the season, I said in the summer, 10 consecutive wins for me is the difference, and it will take us somewhere. It has taken us somewhere. I think at the end of the season, I'll be a lot more relaxed, I'm a lot more happier. But I get involved.
I think we can all share that sentiment, yeah.
But I kind of get involved in it, and and I can only express football the way that I approach and play the game, and the surroundings that I'm in the game. And as much as the players should be elated, I'd be trudging off. I really would. I'd have my head down. I think we need to get in the change room. We need to discuss why we didn't create the chances, and the chances that we did create, why we weren't clinical enough. But we just aren't clinical right now. And Martial's got to look at himself. Played okay today. I thought Vegas did all right when he came on. Luke Shaw was a shining light, but his distribution and his pass in the last 10 minutes was abysmal. He had 2 opportunities to knock a decent ball in for us to do something. Anthony in the second half as well. Should have laid Bruno in or had an earlier shot. Sancho should have had a shot. Rashford came to life way too late in the game. And all this conspires against you. We could have easily had a toe poke and lost the game 1-0 in 90 minutes. You can't allow that. You can't afford to rely on people to dig you out of a hole. You've got to do it yourself. You've got to be the one that grabs the game by the scruff of the neck, and you've got to be out there, and you've got to be the one that changes it, and you've got to be the one that is the influencer. And so, look, happy that we won, of course. I am, but I said 3-4 weeks ago we're going to be in a very dangerous period in our season, and it's unfortunately it's proven to be, because when we may go on a run now of winning 3 or 4 games, but we're not going to climb and shovel our way out of this playing decent football. We're going to scrape over the line like we've been doing, and something will bite us again, I'm afraid. But still, FA Cup final. I love the FA Cup. I'm old. I love it.
I do as well.
It's my tournament, so all in all. So apologies for a little bit of reality check there, but I thought it was.
No, I don't apologise. I totally understand it. I think it could have gone either way, fine margins and all that, and we could be sitting here very angry at the fact that we didn't take our chances, that we allowed them to get in and maybe nick a goal, or we lost a penalty shootout. Do you know what I mean? So I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I think good points well made. Victor Lindelof today, and I know Harry Maguire gets a little bit of stick as well. But alongside the right man, i.e. someone like Shaw, bit quicker, Martinez, maybe even Varane to a push, probably not so much, looks good. And we've always known that in Victor Lindelof. He was very, very good today. Very, very good in the air, very strong, won a lot of duels, and brilliant. And obviously got the winning penalty. I think obviously he's come up because he got the winning penalty, but he had a very, very strong game. How was your assessment of Victor today, Freddie?
I think a very good game. I think the first thing that comes to mind when his name's mentioned is anticipation. I think he's very, very good, very intelligent at reading the game. He seems to be always one step ahead of the opponent, getting in front of them when the ball comes in from their midfield. I think it is also worth noting their attack was quite poor today, as likewise was ours. Both teams didn't.
They lost a lot actually when Danny Welbeck came off. Didn't rate the player that was substituted on for him. Really, he sort of lost the ball on a couple of occasions. Maybe even should have got a goal, but due to whatever he did at the time, it was poor. But I think they lost a lot when Danny Welbeck came off, I think.
Yeah, I think they lost their attack had gone when Ferguson was injured last week. I think Danny Welbeck was never. I mean, I know the first game of the season he had a stormer, but never in doubt. I think that was just an anomaly result. You're right. I think the guy who came on. Yeah, he come from the Belgian league. He didn't have much to offer. But again, credit to our defence. They didn't really put too much of a foot wrong. Like Stu mentioned, a few sloppy passes here and there, but nothing. Detrimental leading to a goal, or could have led to a goal. Lindelof solid. I think he looked very confident. I also think the tactic from De Gea to go long was very, very evident. So there was no opportunity for any mishaps in terms of playing out from the back. So I think that's probably benefited everyone and created a bit more confidence from there. I think as a back four they played well as a unit. I think Dallo had a very good game left back again. And Wan-Bissaka, for me, my biggest fear from the Brighton perspective before the game was Matoma, and I think Wan-Bissaka was tremendous against him. As soon as you take him out of the game, they didn't have anything to offer.
He was excellent today. Again, he's really come on leaps and bounds. I know we speak about this most weeks now, but he's not putting a foot wrong, is he? And he was perfect against Matoma today, completely shut him up. And I was very concerned with those 2 substitutions near the end of the 90 minutes, whenever it was, or during the first extra time when he took him off. I thought, oh Christ, Dallow's going to get absolutely skinned, but it didn't happen. So that was fortunate.
Thankfully, I had minimal impact, but he's doing very well. Even his attacking game today, a few dribbles, a few take-ons. Like I think at one point he had the most take-ons in the game, which is brilliant. And considering his defensive capabilities as well, he's turning into a bit more of an all-round player. You can tell that Ten Hag's coaching him. Yeah. He's strengthening his deficiencies. So I know we say every stream, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to him, because he is improving and he's having a very good, strong end to the season. But just finishing on Lindelof, I think Lindelof was brilliant today. It's good to see him get a few more minutes. Some players can take time when they have to step in due to injuries. He's come in and he's doing a job from the off. He's not needing games to find his feet, and that's brilliant. And he's got a very good mentality. I watched his post-match interview. He's got his head screwed on, and I hope he stays, because I'm a big fan of him, and I think he can certainly do a job if Varane Martinez arrested or injured from next season onwards.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Great points well made again. Just to come to what Victor has said after the match, he said it felt great. It was a great relief. I'm happy to win and to be in the final. He then goes on to say, I knew which penalty I wanted to take. I went up and scored it. And then he's gone on to say, I thought we defended well. Brighton, they played great today. They are confident with the ball, but we played great today and defended really, really well.
Great penalty as well, by the way.
Yeah, all of them. I couldn't believe all the penalties. I was so concerned about, potentially us missing one and, maybe saving. I know David De Gea's record at saving penalties isn't the best, but they were all brilliant. Every single one until March. Was it him that missed?
He got under that, didn't he?
Yes,
he did.
Yeah,
he did. Casemiro, a little bit up in the air with him today because there was a couple of sloppy moments from him, I felt. However, he actually did have a huge impact on the game. That pass, I don't know if you remember, to Rashford in extra time, I think that was absolutely wonderful pass. But he had over 80% pass accuracy, 75 touches, 12 ground duels won, 7 tackles, 6 interceptions, 5 long balls completed, 2 dribbles completed, 2 key passes, and 1 yellow card. Always a certain. Jarvis, I haven't really heard your thoughts on him necessarily. But how did you think he did today, and how much of a fan of Casemiro are you?
Yeah, well, Casemiro, we had a great game. But he got the yellow card as usual in usual style. So he was playing a little bit more reserved than he could have. And the thing is, I'm getting frustrated a little bit of his tackles. He goes in a little bit too strong in situations that he could avoided. So he puts the team in the risk for a red card. So Casemiro, he's too experienced to do such things. So I expect more from him for the rest of the season and the next season. I don't know why it's like this. If the referees in Premier League are harsher on him or tougher on him, or if he's getting slower, if he can't read the game fast enough. Casemiro.
I think, just to interject very quickly, I think it is just a case of him getting used to it. I think you can probably get away with a bit more in the Spanish league. And, when you've been accustomed to such a great winning team for many, many years, if you change, it's going to be a massive culture shock, isn't it? And I think he's still adjusting to that. But everything else he brings to the game has been wonderful.
Yeah. And he's we call him Casemiro because he's excellent and under Solskjaer, everybody said we needed a defensive midfielder, and we got him, and he has improved our team. So I'm very happy with Casemiro, but Caicedo and McAllister were really good today, and they gave us a fight. So, but they play in the pivot, Caicedo and McAllister, but they interchange. So it's very hard to mark them and follow them around. And they are very in sync when they interchange, because they understand the reading of their game, and the Serbi ball is really effective. It's very simple but effective. You see the center back just standing there, passing the ball in between themselves, and just inviting the pressure, and suddenly it just clicks, and the movement comes, and they are through the first line of press. So that's why I mentioned I was very worried about Bruno, because I was afraid that he was going to be very impatient and let Brighton play through us. But fortunately, he was very disciplined today.
Yeah, very good. Always a certain, isn't it, him getting the yellow card, Casemiro, but still very pivotal in the way that
just
we
quickly,
play.
Mark, on what Jarvis was saying about Caicedo McAllister is absolutely right. And if you've noticed how tandems play together, and what they tend to do is they switch very, very seamlessly. I call Caicedo a ghost, and that's why, because what happens is, if he's the further of the two, McAllister takes it in, lays it into Caicedo, and McAllister continues his run. Caicedo drops back 10 yards. It's the, people say that we play with a double pivot. All they've done is hear that phrase. They've got absolutely no idea what a pivot is. And the way that McAllister and Caicedo play is on a pivot, because it's just one to another. It's very, very simple football. Sometimes in coaching, you will do that with an elastic band between two players. Just an elastic band or a rubber band or whatever it is. You'll tie it between you. You'll just learn how to pivot yourselves around, and then you just use that in your game. So you have this imaginary elastic band, one for the better phrase. It's quite hard to describe, but that's how you pivot around, and that's what a double pivot is. We've never ever played with a double pivot because they're not intelligent enough to do that. You see, that's the issue. So that's what Jarvis was basically saying, and he's absolutely 100% correct. The way that they cover each other is phenomenal.
Yeah, great.
Oh, one other thing about Lindelof as well.
Yes, go on, Stu.
I really want to touch on what Freddie says. What Lindelof did today, which will go completely unnoticed, is he held that line perfect. Okay, so whenever we were in possession, our line was perfect. So we were able to pick up, drop off, or drop deep if we needed to, step up if we needed to catch anyone offside. He took it. He did it really, really well. Lindelof today. Sorry, Mark.
No, you're fine, mate.
Observations.
I could listen to you all night, buddy. So you carry
I know
on.
I'm boring.
No, not.
Mrs. says I'm boring.
Well, your missus is wrong. Sorry. Anyway, loads of you watching at the minute. Loads of you on Twitter. Come over to youtube.com/the weekly armchair. Want to get in and see your comments, get like and get subscribed and all that jazz. Just so you know, on Tuesday, I believe, we've got two former Man United players coming on. Phil Marsh, who you'll be used to, and Lee Lawrence, that some of you may not have seen before, but also a member or two from the 1958. They will be going through a lot of the organisation on the 30th with the what is it? My words have lost me. With the protest. Thank you. Christ, I could not get that out. With the protest. So make sure you tune into that. Lots of big information. And I think, from what I understand, one or two of us may be covering that. So, and as Julia says here, please like the video. Really, really important. Right, moving on to, I just want to talk about one of their other players, actually. Lots of talk about goalkeepers this week for one reason or another. But Robert Sanchez, linked with United, very, very comfortable on the ball at the back. Wonderful save from Rashford, a couple of them actually. Very, very good, but his numbers were brilliant today. I just wanted to come to you, Freddie, what you thought of his performance. And is it someone like that? I get the whole debate on David De Gea. I'm not disputing that. Not he might stay and whatever else, that's fine. But he could be an option that we should maybe look at. What do you think?
Nah, not for me. I think I think his saves were quite straightforward today, I'll be honest with you. And that's more telling on our part that we didn't really test him. I think the Rashford save towards the end, I would have expected him. He was about a yard from it. it's good he tipped it round. It's good he had his concentration that late in the game, but he's not even their first team keeper really. I mean, they're playing Steele, and he's probably unlucky not to start himself today. So yeah, he's probably a bit better on the ball than De Gea, but I think we can do better, and we should be aiming for a better quality of keeper if we are to replace De Gea this summer. But yeah, no, good keeper, but not Manchester United standard in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm glad you said that. And lots of people saying Raya. I've said about Raya for a little while now. I think he'd be a good option, probably getting for about 40 million. But anyway, that's besides the point. We'll cover that in the summer as and when that kind of starts rumour. The rumour mill starts as it was. Right, yeah. So obviously, the next few games, we've got Spurs next week, Villa, and then Brighton again. 3 tough games. We've really got to hopefully a couple of players come back, but it's going to be a tough run-in for sure.
Spurs are going to turn up, aren't they?
Oh
against
man,
us. It's written in the stars.
Did you see the result today? Was it 6-1 in the end?
6-1, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I turned
If
it on.
you watched that first half,
they were walking through them, weren't they?
Were they 4-0 down after 20 minutes or something?
5-0.
5-0 after
5-0.
21 minutes. 21 minutes. It was absolutely appalling from Spurs. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, you're right, Freddie. They'll turn up, play like Pride
100%.
Barcelona against us.
Yeah.
Always the way, isn't it? Or they have another bloody manager bounce. Nagelsmann would be in before that. I doubt it. But I've seen Milk turn quicker than them employ the right people. So anyway, right, we're going to come on to ratings then, guys. I don't want to keep it too long for this one. So I'm going to come to you first, Jarvis. David De Gea, please, buddy.
Yeah, it was okay, but not his best game. He played it safe. He was going long all the way, but that was part of. I'm sure that was part of Ten Hag's plan all the way to stop the dilly dally and just hoof it away onto Martial. Yeah, I give him a 6, and he didn't have any saves in the penalty shootout either. So. Nothing special.
Yeah, I think absolutely spot on. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, then I'll give that to you, Stu.
7. I thought he did really well today.
Maybe even an 8. He was very good.
Well, Lindelof gets my 8. I can't quite push him to the 9, but he gets my 8. Lindelof does. But I look at what I would say about Wan-Bissaka is, and Freddie once again put it really eloquently. His attacking play was excellent today. I'm not interested in a fullback's attacking play. I'm interested in what he does in the final third for us, which is really, really important. And I thought he was going to have problems with Mitoma today. Mitoma did get by him once or twice. He did look tired in the first half, but he got to grips with him. And a good fullback, I'll just be brief here quickly, understands what he's against and adapts during the game. And he's adapted brilliantly today against Mitoma. And he's pretty much shut him out after about 20, 25 minutes. So really pleased with him. So a definite 7 for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Freddie, Lindelof, please.
8. For the reasons I mentioned earlier, I think one of our best players, if not the best. I would give Wan-Bissaka an 8 personally as well. But yeah, there's an argument for Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, 2 of our better players, and that's very good considering most wrote off our defence before the match. So very good to see them play as well as they did.
So does everyone think that obviously Maguire's going to come back after this game, but Lindelof and Shaw, is that what everyone would want to see going forward for the next few games?
Well, your problem you're going to have there is you got your Maguire haters, haven't you? And so people will say now, oh look, Lindelof and Shaw quality, blah 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 blah.
Or Maguire and Shaw. Then I think
you've got to check. Look. Against Tottenham, I think with Kane's movement and Son's movement, I think it'd be fairer to play Lindelof and Shaw, if I'm being honest, and keep that back four because of their movement. But if you're playing a lump up there, you're playing somebody like a Joe Linton S-type player, then Maguire comes in because he's better in the air. He's more robust. So you've got to look at it against who you're playing, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to remember as well, Shaw is our best left back. So, there's an opportunity cost. You're really severely lacking in our offensive play if you're playing Shaw centrally. As good as Dalot has been recently, he's covering. He's not our best left back. So,
Yeah. Fair point. Luke Shaw then. Jarvis.
Yeah, Luke Shaw was also good today. He was not as good as Lindelof, but he did his job, and I was very happy with him. The thing is, we had control over Brighton, so they couldn't quite come at us with so many people as they used to. But all in all, I'm happy with both of the centre backs, and it's a partnership. So if Lindelof has a brilliant game, then most likely Shaw had a good game. So yeah, I give him a 6+. Can I give him a 7? Yeah.
You can give him a 7. Yeah, absolutely fine. Right.
Can I just add before we move on? I think he did very well off the ball. Sure, he was tracking Danny Welbeck. I think Danny Welbeck naturally, gravitated towards Shaw's side, making sort of right to left runs from the Brighton perspective, and he did very well to track him. He's very physical, Shaw, quite quick, and he's one of our stronger players. And I think he did very well on Welbeck and kept him out of the game brilliantly. Something that probably goes unnoticed, the off the ball.
Yeah, off the ball is always not talked about enough, is it? And you need
I
to
talk
really
about
be.
it all the time.
Oh no, we do. I'm not, and I'm sure other people do. I'm just saying that
I'm
a lot of
joking,
people.
I'm joking,
Okay, good. Sorry, I thought I was going to have to go for you. Anyway, Casemiro. I'm only playing. Casemiro. Just wanted to come to this comment actually. Lovely comment here. Jarvis talking a lot of sense. Absolutely right. Been absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate you here, brother.
Thank you.
Casemiro then. Who wants that one?
Well, I'll take Casemiro tonight. I'll just give Dallo a 7, by the way, because we didn't do Dallo. Did we?
Oh, yes. No, we didn't.
But I think he was a 7 for me. So, right, Casemiro, a strange one tonight. And I do agree with the fellas, actually. I think he's slightly regressed a little bit. And I think the hustle and the bustle of the Premier League's catching up with him. And I don't really blame him, and I've got no issues with that. I'm not going to beat around the bush with it. He gets a 6 from me tonight.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'm not going to say too much more because I don't, because we've covered how good he is. Reality strikes, and unfortunately,
On today's game,
with a 6. Yeah.
On today's game, where he misplaced a few things, got the ball. The ball was taken off him once or twice, I think.
Yeah.
On today's game, I absolutely agree with you. I don't think any more than the 6, but came up with the goods with certain passes, progressive passes,
he did, and that's probably what stopped him getting a 5.
Yeah, absolutely true. That's what I was going to move on to.
Yeah, if I can just shoot in about Casemiro, Eriksen in the first half played alongside Casemiro, but I couldn't quite figure out who was going to go deep and be the deep lying playmaker when we were building up. So when Casemiro dropped deep, Eriksen dropped deep. So they weren't really in sync how to in their place. So Casemiro didn't have a good option passing, and Eriksen didn't have a good option passing.
Yes,
so in my mind, they should have done the same as Brighton. When Eriksen dropped down to be the deep lying playmaker, Casemiro should have pushed up, but he didn't. So we had 2 deep lying playmakers when we were building up. So
they normally play like that way, Jarvis. So don't they? There's always a 10 to 15 yard gap between Casemiro and Eriksen. So Eriksen's always good from taking the ball. Casemiro then trots 1 or 2 yards, and he'll either take it back or Eriksen feeds it. But you are right, Sedan. I did notice that, and I couldn't quite understand why, because there was no real need for us to do that. And I think when we were talking about a lack of space, that's the reason, because we're suffocating ourselves we're in our play. So it's a good spot, that, mate. Very good spot.
Yeah. Good spot indeed. Right, let's move on to Eriksen then.
Which means we can't give Eriksen much more then.
No, well, I to be honest with you, I thought he was really poor today, if I'm honest. I thought as soon as he came off and Fred came on, there was a shift and Eriksen was poor. But Freddie, you're nodding at me, so you go for this one, buddy.
Yeah, I'll give him a 6, average 6. There's an argument for a 5, but I personally don't think he should have started. I think if the idea was that to give or allow Brighton to have the possession, and it looked like we were countering in the first half, I think Fred would have been a better fit next to Casemiro personally, and then bring on Eriksen in the embers. So yeah, it obviously didn't work out today, but yeah, probably a generous 6.
Yeah, I agree. Look, we know how important he is. We can see that in certain games, especially possession type games. But today
He's
he
had a
just
great
wasn't on
season,
it.
hasn't he? He's had a great season.
Yeah. I
He's had a
mean,
great
one of the
season.
signings for free. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not forget. Right, Bruno Fernandes then. Stu.
Do you know what? I'm a bit torn with this one, because there were parts where he overcorrected his play. There was parts where he was quite weak in his play. There were times though when he was absolutely outstanding in his play. It was a very
Mixed bag.
performance from Bruno. And I'm just going to hit the midfield with a 6, I'm afraid. I can't quite elevate to a 7. So I'm going to hit the midfield to a 6.
Yeah, I can see your frustrations there. I think there was a lot of comments like that, Twitter group chats and all that. And I can understand that there were some points where he was amazing. In the first half, he was the only real player that was doing anything and had a couple of opportunities. And then he had some very frustrating moments too. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Yeah. Can't disagree with you, buddy. Right, moving on to we'll do Fred as well then. So Jarvis, over to you, buddy.
Yeah, Fred, when he came in, he was very energetic. He added something extra to that midfield. But as you were saying, I couldn't quite understand why Ten Hag chose Eriksen to start when the game plan obviously was to sit back and another thing of the game plan. I think United were trying to kill the tempo and the rhythm of the game. You could see it from the captain Bruno. Every little touch he got, he was just laying down and hauling out the time and dragging down the tempo. And I think Ten Hag did actually a masterclass in doing that, because Brighton was up for it today, and I could see it in the movement of their players. But the first half we gave them 65% possession, and we only had 35, and we just sat back. So yeah.
Yeah, very, very fair. Very, very fair indeed. I thought he really did bring that energy. I think you're absolutely right. And I think he did well. Right, moving on to the front three. So we'll start with, I'm trying to remember him. Yeah, it's one of those days, boys. Sorry.
Anthony Martial and
Anthony, Martial, Rashford, and then we got Sancho as well to do. So Freddie, you go for Rashford, please.
Oh, God. I think our attack was very poor today.
Yeah.
I'd give a 5 to Rashford. I'll be honest with you. I don't think he had much to do. I don't think he was tracking back. I think he had a very poor game. I think he looked better when he moved centrally. They were playing such a high line, and maybe we should have looked at that as well before the game. Rashford centrally, because he does run in behind. Martial seems to just be dropping so deep at the minute. Rashford, there were a few crosses where there was just no one in the box. Maybe Rashford would have been a better person to get on the end of them. So I'll give him a 5. Not one of his best games, unfortunately, but he did last the full game, and unscathed. So yeah, the whole attack needs to improve. And just to touch on the point Jarvis made, Bruno falling over, I'd give Craig Pawson a -10 today, because
he was poor.
The fact,
he was poor.
Honestly, Adam Webster should have had, I think, about 5 yellow cards or 4 yellow cards or tackles.
Yeah,
awful. So another justice reason for us winning. We had 12 people to go that we were playing against ultimately. So 5 for Rashford. Not his best game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He's been a little bit off it recently, isn't he? Obviously the injury. I think today he played the full game, great, come out unscathed, massive silver lining, but he wasn't fully fit. He did not look match fit today at all. So I'm amazed that he was kept on for so long. But he did
just add quickly that then it impacts Bruno. It impacts your attacking ball players. If you've got if the attack aren't running in behind, doing those diagonals, your playmakers aren't gonna, it impacts their game as well. So there's a bit of a domino effect. So I've got a bit of sympathy for the midfield, Bruno Eriksson, because the attack just went up to scratch today.
Yeah, absolutely right. Right, moving on to Anthony then. I'll come to you, Stu. In your own time.
You've got a kick about Stu, haven't you? Come on.
I don't know, because he was industrious with and not industrious. I don't know quite how to articulate what I saw from Anthony today. He looked busy, but he wasn't. And what I mean by that, you get the ball, it'd be tootling along, blah 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 blah, but there was no end product. It was a 5. He gets a 5. I'm not doing it. He gets a 5.
Yeah,
you know, look, I'm quite happy to praise a footballer. When they put effort in, and did he put effort in today? Yes, he did. But was he a little bit dumb in the final third? Yes, he was. And you can never excuse dumb or incompetence in life or in football. And I can't excuse incompetence. So he gets a 5. I just can't do it.
Decision making was very poor, wasn't it?
It
I was
was.
hoping for Martial. I was hoping for Martial, because that would have been pissy.
Yeah, I was hoping for Martial.
But Anthony was, people will say he gets a 6. People will say he gets a 7. No, for me, he's a 5. I'm sorry. I mean, if anyone disagrees, please tell me.
No, I agree. I think it wasn't his best game by any means. And yeah, no, it wasn't. And I absolutely agree with you. I think his final third decision making.
I think he
was poor.
I think he was the best out of the attack, if there's any consolation. And I think he has been. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and he has had a few. He's been in good form recently, and I think his tracking back is very good and something we've missed in recent seasons. So we're certainly a better team with him. But yeah, I don't think again.
But just before you ask Jarvis, is and it'll be a straight answer from Jarvis. I know it will be, but just before you do, you're in an FA Cup semi-final. The attack should be the most potent thing on that pitch. You should be just constantly bang, 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 bang. Let's get the goal, get another goal, and let's hold the play. But we just, Jesus Christ! If you showed any of our strikers where the goal was, I mean, I do it in training sometimes. If somebody misses it, I go, "Where? Jones, it's there, mate." He'll go, "What's that?" It's the goal. It's there.
I tell you what, he doesn't take any prisoners, Stu, does he? I love him. I love him to pieces, but I'm not sure I'd want to play football with him. I think I'd be.
Have you had your dinner, Stu? Have you had your dinner yet?
No. Yes, I've had some pasta.
Have you had your Snickers yet?
No, I've always got a Mars bar in my bag, my putty bag. But then again, though, I'll quite happily take that criticism if I miss a header or I miss a 6-yard, which I did do in training a few weeks ago, and I got blasted for it. It's my own fault, but that's what I do. I would just say, the goal's there, Jonesy. So that white thing there, got net on it. You know what I'm saying? You got to do it. Bit of fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're through, aren't we? So we can make all the jokes you want. It doesn't matter. Right, Martial then. So Jarvis, over to you, buddy.
This will be easy.
Martial, as I was saying, De Gea was hoofing balls up to him. But what I don't like with Martial, he's good at taking down the ball and trying to start the attacks and stuff like that, But my biggest problem with Martial, he never threatens the back room of the backspace of Brighton. So it's easy for their centre backs, especially Webster. I don't know if you notice him, but he was really high. He was pushing the line high up all the time. He was almost in front of Martial when the ball came because he was pushing the line so good. And actually, I like Webster. He's a good player. He has a great pass to break the lines and all that. So he's actually a centre back that I would like to see at our club, because I think he would play Ten Hag style of football. And but Martial, yes,
good point there. Good point there.
Yeah. And Martial is Martial. I always like the little extra, the punch, the little spark, the fire. It's always too controlled. And when he get tackled, and he see the defender come in a tackle, he takes the tackle and just lay down instead of like trying to keep the attack going. So, that's maybe why I think he's kind of lazy sometimes, but he's brilliant sometimes. So it's Martial. I give him a 5.5. Okay, I can give him a 6 to be generous.
That is generous, by the way. The interesting thing about Martial, by the way, if he played off the shoulder, he'd be far more dangerous, because the likes of Lewis Dunk in particular, who pretty much had a cigar in his mouth for 90 minutes today. He had a glass of port, didn't he? Lewis Dunk, because Webster was doing, as you quite rightly say, was stepping out and doing all the aggressive stuff. Dunk was like, "Go on, son, off you go, mate. I'm not running today. You can do it for me." A bit like Connor Cody used to at Wolves, absolutely laid back, brilliant defender. But if Martial played and he moved away from Webster and he put himself on Dunk, Dunk could be like, "I don't want to be dealing with this because I know he's quick." I don't. It's an uncomfortable afternoon for someone like Lewis Dunk, but Martial doesn't do that for whatever reason.
Yeah. Do you know he gets a 10 out of 10 for not getting injured? Let's leave on that, mate.
That's good.
I couldn't believe that Shaw and Rashford were all playing today. I really thought we were going to struggle to get 11 fit
I think
players.
Ten Hag, to be fair, and rightly so, by the way, I think Ten Hag's just said, "You got tuck in your skirt, fellas. I need you out there and stop your whinging, stop your moaning. I'll get you whatever you want after, but you've got to get out there, lads. Enough of this namby-pamby bollocks." It's an FA Cup semi-final, for Christ's sake. I would.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
Oh, no, you've really tickled me. Your descriptions today have been absolutely brilliant. I really reckon you are. I think Julio summed it up perfectly earlier. You're going to clatter someone tonight. I think he's in one of those moods, Stu. But you've been wonderful, mate. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's all right.
Right, we're not going to do Sancho, I don't think. Do you all want to take Sancho? I think we're going to finish. We're going to end it.
I need to go soon. To be fair.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Well, listen, guys, thank you for getting involved tonight. I've really enjoyed having you all, and of course, everybody in the comments as well. Been really, really fun. So thank you. We're through, guys. That's what it's all about. Okay, let's not look at the negatives. We are through to the final. And we might get clattered, but let's enjoy it for what it is at the minute, and hopefully they turn up.
It's 5 weeks, isn't it?
5 weeks. June the 3rd, I think. June the 4th.
6 weeks then. So
yeah, long time. Things can change. We can get a lot of players back. Things can change, and who knows? I think that we're being written off way too early, and I think we'll probably turn up. That's what I hope, at least. Anyway, guys, have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Until then, we'll see you.